Hollow Creek was one of those forgotten towns you find deep in the American heartland. A place where time moves slowly and everyone knows your business. For 9-year-old Ethan Miller and his best friends, Ben and Tyler. The town was a giant playground. Their favorite spot was the old cornfield behind the church, a place wrapped in local legends. People whispered about strange lights in the sky, eerie noises in the dead of night, and mysterious shapes moving between the stalks. Most adults just rolled their eyes, and most kids were too scared to go near it. But Ethan, he was captivated. It was a quiet Friday night when everything changed. The sky was crystal clear, packed with stars, but the air had a strange, unnatural chill to it, like a breeze from another world. The boys were playing hide-and-seek when Tyler suddenly froze. He pointed up at the sky. A blinding white light was descending, falling silently toward the field. There was no smoke, no engine roar, nothing that felt human. Its movement was too smooth, too deliberate. Ben tried to convince them it was just a plane, but his voice trembled. Ethan, however, didn't move a muscle. He just stared upward, his eyes wide as if he was hearing something no one else could. A distant signal, a call meant only for him. And then the sound came. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't a machine. It was something deep and resonant, something alive, like the slow, massive breath of a creature hiding just out of sight. That's when the panic hit. Ben and Tyler bolted, screaming for Ethan to follow, but he was rooted to the spot, completely entranced. If you're still listening this far, you can already feel that pull of the unknown, can't you? Before we go any further, join us. Subscribe to Shadow Histories before that light comes back for you. Ben and Tyler finally reached Ethan's house, gasping for breath as they tried to explain what they'd seen. Ethan's parents, filled with dread, rushed out into the night, their calls for their son swallowed by the dense, eerie silence of the cornfield. There was no answer, just the rustling of the corn. Then, a second flash of light exploded across the field, brighter and closer this time, and in that blinding instant, Ethan appeared. He was just standing there, between the rows of corn, unmoving. His clothes were torn, and he was covered in dirt. His eyes were wide open, but he wasn't blinking. For a split second, his parents saw something in his hands, something small and complex that seemed to shimmer but when they blinked. His hands were empty. They rushed to him, bombarding him with questions, but Ethan didn't respond. He just stared right through them with an expression that wasn't shock or fear. It was just empty. In the days that followed, his family tried to slip back into a normal routine, but it was impossible. Nothing about Ethan was normal anymore. The boy who was once full of laughter and questions was gone. He didn't speak. He didn't play. He would just sit by the window for hours, his eyes fixed on some invisible point in the distance. At night, his parents would hear slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway, but whenever they checked on him, Ethan would be lying perfectly still in his bed, awake, staring at the ceiling as if he were listening for a signal from a faraway place. Soon, the strangeness that had infected Ethan began to spill out into Hollow Creek. Mysterious lights started appearing in the sky. Old was at exactly 3:14 a.m. Televisions would suddenly short out, their screens burning out with no explanation. Farm animals would break out of their pens and flee into the woods in sheer terror. And with every bizarre event, a faint, unsettling smile would flicker across Ethan's face, so subtle it was barely there, but chilling to the bone. One night, Ethan's mother was woken by a rhythmic tapping sound coming from his room. She cautiously opened the door and found her son standing with his face pressed against the window pane. He was whispering, but the sounds were metallic and clipped, like nothing a human throat could produce. As he whispered, the streetlights outside flickered one by one, plunging the entire neighborhood into total darkness. She reached down, slowly touched his shoulder. Ethan turned to face her, and her heart stopped. She realized his eyes were no longer brown. They were swirling with a dark, liquid light, as if something alien was moving just beneath the surface. And then, for the first time since that night in the cornfield, he spoke. His voice was hollow, distant, and completely devoid of emotion. He said, "They're already here." At that exact moment, the lights outside flickered back on. By sunrise, Ethan was gone. His bedroom showed no signs of a struggle. The window was locked from the inside. The door had been closed all night. The only thing out of place was a large, perfectly circular burn mark on the wooden floor, charred black as if scorched by an impossible heat. The police officially reported him as a runaway, but several town residents swore they saw that same blinding white light hovering silently over Hollow Creek just hours before he vanished. And even now people in that small town say that when the clock strikes 3:14 a.m., televisions erupt in static, radios crackle with strange interference, and lights flicker for no reason. Some call it a coincidence. Others whisper that something is still out there in the shadows, watching and waiting. But everyone in Hollow Creek agrees on one thing. Ethan Miller never truly came back from that cornfield. At least, not as the boy he once was. If you made it to the end of this story, whatever you do, don't look toward your windows right now. Subscribe to Shadow Histories and come back tomorrow night. If you can.